Hello and welcome back to Chipping In for 2025, episode 4. We've had 5 weeks off, Ewan and myself, and oh my god, there's been a fair bit going on in the golfing world, from TGL to Bryson apparently changing the game, being the messiah of golf, to some crazy wins, some mad forecasts, some fires that have changed tournaments. We'll get into all of that, but first, more importantly, Happy New Year. What have you been up to on and off the course?
It's been pretty quiet for me, and that's just the way that I've enjoyed it, because it was a very busy end to 2024 for me, and things will ramp up again in a few weeks. But not unlike yourself, you've been gallivanting around the world as per usual, and Queenstown.
Yeah.
Incredible place.
I'm just doing recce's for Fanatics. We're obviously in Fanatics TV here. We're the Fanatics Golf Club. Just looking at tours that hopefully down the line we lead. We both play in and do little else and hosting. Yeah, a few rounds in Queenstown. I think it was 8 rounds in 5 days. So luckily, a lot of kart golf. But that was very easy compared to last time we spoke. I was getting ready to play 72 holes in a day. Right. Yeah. That was, you were right. When I look back at the face you pulled when you said, "Where are you doing it?" I said Eleonora, and I actually, Hugo, the man behind the studio cameras, asked, because he's all creep, for feet pics afterwards. The blisters that happened afterwards was like nothing I've ever felt. It was challenging.
Well, a lot of people that do these longer stays, the 72 holes, do it on public golf courses that are fairly short, but you've chosen a relatively long golf course that's extremely hilly, and you essentially walked a marathon at the end of the day, didn't you?
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, it was just under 42k. We'll chuck up some of the pictures of the feet and the day itself. It was great raising money for friend, but it was... And the annoying thing was I didn't get any better. I thought it might get worse. It was like 83, 84, 85, 87, I think, with the 4 rounds. So
that's still pretty decent. I mean, to keep it consistent across the 4 rounds.
I did get I didn't see a human until my final 9 holes. Course was closed for maintenance, but we'll let one person, probably because I won't hit any greens or leave any pitch marks, and they were right. Started at 6 a.m. and it was 2 hours on the dot pretty much every round, just not stopping, just very going through. But then I decided never to really play golf again, and I'm retired from it. For a while anyway. But professional side of the game, amateurs have been playing all over. We've had a lot go on. It started the DP World Tour. Mm-hmm. The Team Cup, a bit of a semi-new thing. Abu Dhabi, obviously that was played in. GB and Ireland got the win there. What did you make of it? Because everyone loves the Ryder Cup. Let's be honest, that's sort of, for me, is up there with the Masters and Open. Do you think there's a big future for this at all, or not particularly? It will always sort of be in the lower echelons in terms of that team golf element.
I love it. I think it'll remain in that latter category just because the Ryder Cup is such a prolific event, and then you've got the President's Cup that comes in underneath that. But look, I really enjoy watching it, and it's a great opportunity for the European players to gel. And I know, obviously Justin Rose, Luke Donald, Francesco Molinari, they were all there, and it's a great chance for them to get together and bond and, create some, further chemistry in anticipation of the Ryder Cup later this year in New York. But some great players and, some interesting stories came out of it.
Yeah, one interesting story, talk about good chemistry, potentially bad chemistry. We love a bit of... let's not call it beef, but just Tom McKibben. It comes out that he's obviously comes from Hollywood, the Hollywood in Northern Ireland, the slightly less glamorous Hollywood. No offense if you're watching from Hollywood. Same town as Rory McIlroy. It's linked basically, and it always comes out that week, doesn't it? That he's talking to LIV, looks very likely to be done. He was also there was Jordan Smith, and Tom McKibben took the last PGA Tour card basically by a shot over Jordan Smith, which now he may be null and void anyway. That would have been a pretty awkward sort of interaction in the dressing room, do you reckon? And Rory even came out and said, I would be doing something very different. So I think there's probably some truth to this rumour.
Yeah, look, and Jordan Smith played it down in his presses throughout the week and said, no, it's absolutely fine. We're just going to get on the job with this week, and, Tom can do what he wants to do with his career. But as you alluded to, Tom finished in 10th spot. Jordan finished in 11th spot. Now the top 10 from the DP World Tour rankings earn PGA Tour cards for the following year. Well, the DP World Tour season finished mid-November last year. Yep. Jordan Smith would still have moved up and got that PGA Tour card had Tom McKibben have gone to LIV prior to December 31, because that was the deadline to join the PGA Tour for the following season. So Tom McKibben, as we speak, it's almost the end of January, still hasn't officially announced anything, but it's rumoured very heavily that he will go to LIV. Yeah, look, I mean, I'd be annoyed if I was Jordan Smith, because it's a guaranteed $500,000 US payday just by joining the tour. That's the stipend that you receive.
Wow.
And a player with Jordan Smith's talents most probably going to keep his card over there and earn a lot more. It's something that he would have strived for his whole life, but I'm sure he'll get there eventually.
Yeah, I'm sure he will, but I was just thinking that frosty dressing room, interesting dressing room for sure. And Rory always the outspoken. We're going to get on to a bit of LIV stuff later, because there's some news there. And Rory, because TGL has been the big thing since we last spoke. But we'll stay DP World Touring, because it basically is this Middle Eastern swing. They go through. We go on to Dubai, where Tyrrell Hatton, like, seriously, my first thought, and a few people wrote this, is he an underachiever? And I say this because I think it's 5 Rolex Series now in. Like, you see the scoreboards come up, all the stars, everything. But in the majors, a couple times he's been there or thereabouts. But he is on his day and can beat the Rahms, the McIlroys, everything by 6, 7, 8 shots. So he's obviously an unbelievably freakish talent. But do you think he needs to do more to be sort of considered in that top sprung?
Well, he's an underachiever in the major championships because he's had 8 wins, 5, as you mentioned, in Rolex events. He wins the big ones. BMW at Wentworth, Dubai, the Italian Open. He's won 3 Dunhill Links, and he takes down the big names. Rory said it best: 0 Fs given from Tyrrell Hatton. He simply doesn't care. He's only had 1 top 5 in a major championship, and that was 6 years ago. He does have half a dozen top 10s. So yes, I think that's probably the next piece of the puzzle for him to put together, and he knows that. He's got a game that's well suited to major championships, and once again, I really think it's a matter of time. I think in the next 2 or 3 years, he'll win one.
Yeah, okay, interesting, and be interesting for also that to see if that LIV model does that, because people say we can't gauge how well they're playing when they're playing LIV and they come back for majors, and see where they sit. He is an absolute fan favourite because of his swearing, his attitude, everything like that. As you said, 0 fucks given. Who was your Tyrrell Hatton when you were playing? Was there anyone on the tour who were quite like that, who had this bit of anger, but then also this almost cheeky, chappy element who didn't care? Was there anyone you came across who was the original? Let's go with that.
Off the top of my head, there was a guy called Jonathan Kay, an American guy who turned 50 a few years ago, won 3 times, I think, on the PGA Tour. There's some stories about him, but nothing sort of in the Tyrrell Hatton mold. Okay,
he doesn't just flick the bird to a ball which is going a bit high right and tells his caddy it's the worst shot you've ever seen and everything.
Yeah, it's a little bit theatric, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. When we were doing the Angry Golfers thing, it was basically written for him.
Yeah.
And then he won that week, and the whole week it was, if you're feeling glum, pop up your thumb.
That's right.
Yeah, and he just, now it's become his sort of trademark thing. I love it. And very quickly it moves on. This new, actually, that's a good point. This swing. Do you like this new DP World Tour layout? I think it's almost easier for fans to follow where there's Middle East swing than there'll be Europe swing. How does it? Because we went on to Ras Al Khaimah, Alejandro Del Rey got it done. Seems like a good player. Everyone was cheering. Talk about favourites. Marcus Armitage.
Yeah,
the bullet. He's the favourite. Are you? Did you watch much of that? And are you enjoying this new sort of layout with the season schedule?
Yeah, I think it is easier to follow. I do like the swing, and it's a great tourism advert for each region as well, isn't it? Certainly in the Middle East, where the game is no doubt growing, and certainly helps the players logistically too. It's better than gallivanting all over the world, back and forth 100 times throughout the year. But big win from Del Rey, shot a 58 in Switzerland on the Challenge Tour back in 2021. He actually, the bullet was second. David Puig from Spain was third, and they were former teammates at Arizona State just a few years ago. And Puig, I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. Yeah, he's got a phenomenal story, actually, because when he turned pro a couple of years ago, he was an amateur standout, but he went straight to LIV. Had an opportunity to play several events on both the PGA Tour and DP World Tour. Went straight to LIV, but he really didn't have a world ranking. It was in the thousands.
Totally.
It's now top 100, having played LIV, which doesn't offer world ranking points. And how he's done that is by winning a couple of times on the Asian Tour, international series events, where he's had 4 top 3s. In the last 4 months, he's had 4 top 5s on the DP World Tour, because at the moment, LIV players can, as Tyrrell
pay a little
has
fine,
shown, pay your fine. So he's done amazingly well. He's up to number 87 in the world, and he's going to get a start in the PGA Championship, and maybe the Masters will invite him as well. And it's good to see him playing all over the world.
Yeah, right. So a bit of a name for the future for this year. We're going to have a look at this year, 2025. I was going to ask some star names. But people were sad. Marcus Armitage is, I think, one of the great stories. I think the footage may have been buried, but you may know early on, I think it was Challenge Tour, maybe even Euro Pro, where they said, how are your nerves coming down the straight? And he said, basically, it's nothing like carrying, illegal drugs in your boot and being chased by the police down an M1, where he had an interesting childhood, it's fair to say, and teens, and he absolutely has come through the other side of it. But just one of the great characters, the Bullet, in golf, and everyone wants to do well.
He is, and I think people enjoy watching self-depreciating characters as well. And had he struggles last year, he was became a fan favourite 2-3 years ago. Was playing terrific golf, probably just on the perimeter, looking in of a Ryder Cup position, and then just fell off the face of the earth, so to speak. And he's back again. Yeah,
no, good to see. And finally, Bahrain. Spent any time there? That's this week. Have you done this event at all? Because it's somewhere I don't know.
No, I haven't. No, I saw some photos this morning actually of Monty hitting a shot in what was just desert in 2007. Yeah. He was picked to design the golf course, and how it looks now is quite unbelievable. Dylan Fratelli's the defending champion. I see Patrick Reed played last week. He's playing again this week. You've got Robert Carlson, I think's there. Padraig Harrington's playing. It's a good field.
Yeah,
it really is.
No, that's right. You're looking here. You got Reed as the favourite, just ahead of Puig, and then Thorborn, who also likes the desert a fair bit. Yeah. Laurie Cantor for another one, the LIV swap, and then Johannes Veerman. So yeah, it's not a bad field at all. Is it something I don't know too much about? But they love rolling out those images, don't they? Only 20 years ago, this was just desert, and you're like, we're aware.
It's like Dubai in '89, nothing. Now it's skyscrapers everywhere.
Same picture. Absolutely. Okay, so that DP World Tour round up, and they'll finish this swing, then move on. On the PGA Tour, we're starting to get to the business end. Wardrobe check. You've lost the Tanimal this week. Talk us through.
Just a change up. Yeah, just a change up.
Keep the sponsors happy.
Sponsors happy. Real men wear pink.
Yeah. Is that pink or purple? We're going pink? Lighting. Okay.
I'll call it pink. I don't want to be wrong.
Okay. Well, the viewers comment if you're loving the knees out. It's great. And I have gone for the Torrey Pines number because that was last week's event, which we'll get on shortly. It's absolutely boiling. Hugo's not fixed the aircon in any way, but it's a little polo number. Again, not for the sponsors, and this was the US Open. What year was 21?
21, 2008 as well.
2008 as well.
Yep.
There you go. Yep. That could be a sign. Who won it in 21? US Open Torrey Pines.
John Rahm.
There you go. So we'll go on to that. First, we'll start the Century.
Who led after 36 holes?
You.
Richard Bland. No. Gosh, no.
You came out of it, yeah.
Richard Bland.
Was it actually
that was when
Blanding?
He first that's when Blandemonium sort of first started.
Blandemonium, I forgot about that. This is, let's go to that quickly. Did you see on Twitter the worst comeback in the history of the world last week?
The worst comeback?
Yeah, as in an insult comeback, basically.
No.
So he plays for a team called Cleeks, I believe, in LIV. 2 years ago, Max Homer just wrote, "What are Cleeks?" on Twitter. They have now only this week replied to that comment. So someone's gone through the archive 2 years ago and they've done a return video 2 years late explaining what Cleeks are, and the whole team mocking Max Homer, basically being like, "Oh, Max, you don't know? It's tradition. Oh, Max, you don't know?" And it is the most, like, the comments are the funniest thing, and it's Blandy doing this, and he's looking over his shoulders and fake trophies pop up of his, and Max just replies, "Sorry guys, did you forget to press send 2 years ago?" Like, it's taken 2 years to come up with the worst comeback in the history of golf.
Who decides that it's a good idea 2 years later? Like, who is the general manager of that team going, "This is a good idea"?
Hey guys, do you remember that time 2 years ago when it's genuinely like the schoolyard equivalent of being like, picked on year 8 and year 10, you go, "I've got him now." Like, I've been sitting on it. But it was just, and you can't imagine the comment. And everyone like, I think Keimer's in that team as well. Like, how the players agreed to do it. You're like, no, we'll probably just leave it, thanks.
No, it's bizarre.
Very, very weird. Fun to see that sort of weird rivalry still going, though. Started off, came back with a Century. While I think I wrote this, actually, I was 35 over or something for my rounds. Matsuyama was 35 under on the same day. And there was weird. People often go, "Oh, American golf and Hawaiian stuff, it's too easy, it's boring, it's a birdie fest." But then on the other side, the first time I saw the narrative flip, said, "All right, amateurs, a scratch golfer here wouldn't break 80. That's how good these guys are." Where do you sort of stand and think about it? Because 35 under is ludicrous, basically. And but it was interesting reading that narrative being like, no, it's actually not that easy a course and setup. So I don't know where you're with, because we can't put it into perspective for us amateurs.
Yeah, these guys are really good, and I mean, we know that. Cam Smith shot 34 under there before he went to LIV. There's a couple of reasons specifically why this golf course yields so many, in particular, yields so many low scores, and that's because, yes, there are birdie holes, and technology helps so much around this place because there'd be a handful of holes where anywhere between 300 and 330 yards, they have speed slots. So you hit it over the hill, you'll get an extra literally 100 yards of roll, and 420, 440 yard holes are drivable. There's 2 or 3 of them there at Kapalua, and what's 440 yards on a normal golf course, driver, wedge or 9-iron, all of a sudden they're driving the green. Now, when the equipment wasn't so good, these guys weren't able to get it over the hills, and they were hitting mid-irons in instead of chipping it on or having an eagle putt, and hence why the scores weren't as low back then. So technology is really, showing its effect around this place.
Yeah, and I guess some courses can't adapt there's no more room basically to go back or make it longer or anything like that, because they will need to in some cases.
It's got to be wound back at some point. Absolutely.
I mean, that rolled into the Sony Open. Nick Taylor, one of the most clutch. But I saw when he was teeing off on the 17th, I think in play here at $400 were his odds to like. Golf is surely, and you've seen many of the best sport for that drama. When Jaeger looked like he was looking good, and he was tied with who else? There was someone else up there. Can't remember off the top of my head. And then Nick Taylor out of nowhere holds the eagle. Yeah, chipping last and gets it done in the playoff.
Well, remember when he defeated Tommy Fleetwood a couple of years ago, hold that 72-foot putt in Canada. But he's had 5 wins on the PGA Tour, and they're all big wins. He's won at Pebble, he's won in Phoenix, he's won the Sony. There's one other big one in there he's won, and he's held off some big name players. He was a former number 1 amateur in the world, and probably, if Tyrrell Hatton's underrated, Nick Taylor is extremely underrated because he's a big game hunter. But speaking of major championships, I was looking last night, 29th his best finish, and he's missed his last 9 cuts. It just doesn't add up.
Well, this is it. I mean, I think they showed that stat. Even regular events, he was missing cuts galore. Then when he's in the hunt, he gets it done. It is amazing. What I did learn, my biggest takeaway was Hawaii looks like it's got to be a golf trip to be done. I've not done it, but that was my fanatics push. I was like, let's go to Hawaii. Those courses look pretty special out there.
Absolutely, and a good variety of courses too. There's big ballparks like a Kapalua, and then there's tight little courses like Wailai where they play Sony, but it's a beautiful place and great activities off the course too.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, I did.
Don't think Robert Allenby won't be joining us on that trip.
No, I wouldn't say so. No. Some of those houses. I remember. I think it was the 70th hole where Jaeger put it left basically into someone's pool, and the most incredible mansion. They had the drone. I was like, I'm not sure if they can actually show that. Like, you could see anything you wanted in this person's villa. Looked pretty epic. And the following week, just quick, was the Sepp Straka. Got it done at the AMEX. Big year for him, obviously. For quite a lot of people, he was probably the least known player, it's fair to say, on that European Ryder Cup side. Do you expect him to feature again this time around? Because he's a powerful, and he wins big ones or features in some big ones.
Yeah, he does. That's his 3rd win on tour, but he did win early on in his PGA Tour career, but he's only really become a lot more consistent the last 12 months or so. Just prior to that Ryder Cup in 2023, he won the John Deere Classic, and then very next week was runner-up to Brian Harman at the Open at Royal Liverpool at Hoylake. And then obviously this being his 3rd win, he started to show consistency, but I think more importantly, just doesn't back down in those big situations.
Yeah, no, he's very impressive. He actually reminded me of John Rahm quite a bit, like Bill-wise and everything. When I'm seeing up close, he's very impressive. This week was the Farmers, hence I've got the shirt on, which is Torrey Pines, this jumper. For you guys, amateurs traveling, playing, watching, go there. When I turned 21 there. I was so excited to use my ID. Didn't even ID me. My first legal beer in the States. Nothing happened. Gutted. But I did a twilight round for $50 on where like Tigers won the US Open there. I think it was back in the day. North and South course. But the main takeaway was Americans are soft. And I say this because on Friday, well, it was Thursday, wasn't it? They started a day early, I think. There was a bit of wind, basically. And they just went off. Where do you stand on it? Because this, I think my Twitter's quite biased, UK biased, was like as if this would ever happen in the UK. Like, this is play on, it's open conditions, it's fun. And they went off for extreme weather conditions. What did you make of that? Because personally, I love watching people take that on the challenge. And day one, Aubert hit 9 under, and then I know he got a bit ill as well, but he struggled. Where do you stand on that? Are Americans soft?
In general, yeah. I mean, I say that because I know from experience, my very first win at the Munar Classic in 2008, certainly a destination where it gets very, very windy. It was really windy this particular week, and it was a co-sanctioned event with the old Nationwide Tour, which is now the Corn Ferry Tour. So half the field were Americans, and the bulk of them were calling for play to be halted both rounds 1 and 2. We kept going, which obviously worked in my favour, but it's something we grow up with here in Australia. It's something you grew up with in the UK, and in general in America, there aren't too many windy places or places where it gets windy, certainly like we grew up with, and it's something they're not accustomed to, and it's something that takes a lot of adapting to. And boy, I mean, if slow play is a problem in golf, when it gets windy, that's even ramped up even more. And it was tough to watch.
It was 3 hours for the front 9. I read, like, again, that was all going off there. With the wind side of things, because wind is my biggest weakness. What's your biggest tip for it playing in it? Because you always hear it when it's breezy, swing it easy. But like, if you hit any sort of shot shape, I find I hit a rank hooky draw, it gets accentuated even more. For those amateurs watching, what do you do when it really is blowing 2-3 clubs? What's your best sort of bit of advice?
It's hard to give one overall piece of advice, but if you're playing a crosswind, left to right wind or right to left wind, let the wind be your friend. Don't ever try to fight the wind.
Okay.
That was probably my biggest lesson when I went over and first played in Open Championships, because I think growing up in Australia, I always learned to shape it against the wind and not let the ball, travel too far offline in the air. But the locals over there were telling me, no, let it be a friend and keep the ball along the ground is another great tip. Keep the ball as low as possible. If you're playing into the wind, keep your weight on your left side. Don't try and sway too much from your right to your left. Just keep your weight on your left side. Put the ball back. Swing it smoothly. Try and flight that ball under the breeze.
Okay, there you go. Good. And if it's with the wind, you just tee it up high, let it go.
Yeah, tee it up high, let it fly. Ain't no bunkers in the sky. It's look, it's hard to give one generic piece of advice to everybody, but don't really ever try to fight the wind too much, because it'll always win. Yeah,
okay. I was just Queenstown, got up a few times, and you just get in your head. You're like, this is into the wind's the one, and no one ever takes enough club. I think I read it's like 92% of like amateurs.
That's probably being generous. Yeah, and the pros are guilty of that too.
Yeah, just think they overpower it, and it is very significant. Where there is some wind, Pebble Beach often, you see these and videos, and they always bring out the best of social media Pebble Beach videos, and there are a few this week I'm going to run by you. So there was one, where a guy is basically says he's paid, I think it's $800 for a round there now for the amateurs, and you just see him, and you've never seen weather like it. It's like, you pay this much for your green fee, would you cancel? Obviously he didn't. There was a good would you rather. So it's the 7th hole, the very famous hole. Would you rather? It's not would you rather. It's would you do this basically challenge. You've got 24 hours, to get a hole in one from 100 yards there. If you get it, you get $1 million. If you don't, you have a month in prison. And I'm going to say it's like ultra-max American style prison. Are you taking it on?
Yes. From 100 yards, I think I'm definitely having a go. You'd have to back yourself. I think a lot would be dictated by the pin as well. If the pin's back right on that hole, it's hard to get at. If it's in the middle, you'll find me there all day. But one of the very first tournaments that I ever watched as a kid was the 1992 US Open. Tom Kite ended up winning, but the last day was as volatile as you'll ever see at Pebble Beach. It was blowing a hurricane.
I watched that. Yeah.
Gil Morgan, in the 3rd round birdie, the 8th hole, to get to 12 under par, and he led by 9 strokes. He ended up, I think Tom Kite won at 3 under. So Gil Morgan got to 12 under. Gil Morgan finished 10 or 11 strokes behind Tom Kite. He dropped
20 or
21 shots in the last 27 holes. But there's footage of Gil Morgan hitting a 2-iron into the 10th hole, the 9th or 10th hole at Pebble in the 3rd round. If you just find it on YouTube, it's the most incredible camera work and ball flight, and just shows how proficient players were back in the day at manoeuvring the golf ball, certainly much more so than now.
Yeah.
And the Pebble is fun when you see conditions like that, because it's a short golf course. It's under 7,000 yards. It does have small greens, but last 9 years, 17 to 19 under par has won around there, and wind is really its defence.
Yeah, so you've played there a few times?
Played there once.
Played there once, and is it as magical as... Because that whole area, and again, people love tours are playing, there's all in the Spanish Bay, isn't that right?
Spanish
Monterey
Bay,
Peninsula.
Monterey Peninsula, obviously Cypress Point is right next door.
Is it some of the best in the world, really, all that area? Yeah.
Yeah, I've got to tell my Pebble Beach story from 2019. I was commentating at the US Open there 4 days before the event, so it's Sunday afternoon. I was working for the USGA, and they asked myself and Ned Michaels, my fellow co-commentator and friend of mine, they asked us to go to the 14th, the par 5, and go and film a piece around the green. It was on the far side of the golf course, so we took a cart out there to film something around the green. We had a rental set on the back of the cart, took a few golf balls out. It's about 5:36 p.m. And Tiger came through. He was the last player on the course, so we watched Tiger do his thing and then tee off nearby at 15. They don't open the gates up to the public until Monday. So once Tiger went through, there was nobody there, literally nobody on the golf course. So once we got done filming, we played the last 4 holes at Pebble Beach with a rental set and a golf cart. Week of the US Open.
That is cool. That is very cool. Love that. I thought you were going to say with Tiger and you bet and took his money. I thought that's where you were going to go with that.
Should have. We could have gone with that. Yeah,
could have gone with that.
The reality was I actually I birdied 15, parred 16 and 17, and then hit it in the ocean on 18.
So were you thinking, I'm going to buy these rental clubs as soon as you're done? Because I'm now in my head about swapping golf clubs. That's how bad Queenstown went. I think I've got blades. I'm not good enough, so I need something.
You've got blades?
Well, near enough.
Yeah.
Because they're awful. And every amateur will have this. I treated myself, first time ever, 15 years of playing, got fitted. And on that day, they were the club I hit the best. But then it's a 1 hour block where you're like, oh, cool, I hit them well. And they always say, like, oh, you'll get good.
What's more important, though, is playing well, playing badly more important than actually when everyone rocks up and sees your clubs.
Exactly.
You look cool.
T100s, shiny as anything.
That guy knows what he's doing.
Yeah, I think my handicap's gone up 1 shot since I was 21 and bought this jumper or had this jumper at Torrey Pines since then. 15 years, so it's been really, really good. Pebble Beach has so many of those. I mean, glad that you'd take on the 100-yard for a mil. I'm not sure I would back myself with the wedge game. On that hole, maybe last year before, Rose Zhang, one of the weirdest things, I want to know something weird that you've seen on the course happened. And I don't know if you saw this, but she hit the tee shot, very nearly hold it, camera went round, and then someone at home unbelievably picked up. As soon as she hit the tee shot, her tee flicked up, did a 3-point turn, somersault flick, and landed back in her pocket. It is the most extraordinary thing on social media. What have you seen anything like? We've heard of landing in drinks holders and people's pockets, but I mean, to hit a wedge so clean that the tee flips back and lands back in the pocket, extraordinary.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. No, I'll look off the top of my head now. I mean, I do remember Nicholas Kolsart's playing the old Volvo match play against Graham McDowell. They were in Bulgaria.
Where I went last, Thracian Cliffs.
That's it. They played one of the, 12th or 13th hole, and Kolsart's hooked one. It ended up in the toilet bowl.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, good. No, I didn't know that. I think I used that one.
It elicited a few laughs. Yeah, it's on YouTube. That was a classic.
Yes, I went last year because in Europe, as destinations go, probably the most beautiful course I've been to. Seriously cheap. The Bulgarian turns out not the popular destination spot. Around there, there's Black Sea Rama and Thracian. And on that wall was a veritable who's who. McDowell was there. There were some young Americans there as well. I can't remember off the top of my head who, but I think McDowell got it done. JD, the paratrooper. A very cool spot and destination. So Pebble Beach this week, always good viewing. Anyone you like the look of there? Some really good names of
I think 8th in the betting line was Sung Jae-im at $2.80, coming off
he needs to win more, doesn't he?
Coming off a 4th place last week, but he's there or thereabouts all the time. And I think Keegan Bradley was $5 or no, not $5. He was about 15th or 16th in the line of betting, and he's had a win, a top 15 last week.
$50 there for Keegan.
$50,
Yeah, Sung Jae 25. Yeah, no, the Sung Jae just brought to my attention because I was watching I Love Him and that long pause at the top swing, but they said he's had, I'm going to get this miles wrong, like they basically said in the commentators he needs to win more, but he's had an extraordinary amount of top 10s in a still a relatively new career. It's phenomenal.
Absolutely, yeah. And I mean, for someone who plays just about every single week as well, I mean, to have that consistency is quite amazing. He's got a former PGA Tour player on the bag, Will Wilcox, who he was out there for 2 or 3 years, and Will's story is actually quite phenomenal. Like, he was a drug addict.
Use? Was it drug? Yep.
Heroin and methadone and methamphetamine. Sorry, and he's he's a great fellow, but he's been very open and honest about his battles, and obviously working great alongside Sungjae.
Oh, I didn't realize, because he was grateful on social when he was trying to get back into it. He famously used the yellow ball, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember reading that, and not that you'd have a perception, but amazed that is he was the person who was going through that side of things.
It's kudos to him for telling the story, and great to see him back out there, and still plays really good golf too. He had a hole-in-one on 17 at Sawgrass during a Players 2016, I think
That's
it was.
right, the Club Throne celebrations, yeah. Well, obviously I'll be back in this jump in a few weeks because, as mentioned, Genesis.
Yeah.
Very sad. Riviera, I don't know too much. It seems like it's somewhat unscathed. I know Getty nearby is in trouble because of those awful fires, and we send our best there. So that then goes back to, well, they basically have stands up already. They can host again.
I think the infrastructure already being up was a huge reason why. Obviously, Tiger, Southern California roots. I think that's why they decided to keep it in that region. Riviera unscathed, but if you're familiar with that area at all, Riviera is off Sunset Boulevard, and it's in Pacific Palisades, which copped the brunt of the fires, and basically the whole town is a ghost town now. It's like the apocalypse hit. But thankfully the golf course was unscathed, so hopefully back there next year.
Yeah, absolutely. And before then, next week we will be, because in this run we're going to do a few shows. I think you might get out on the course as well, potentially. We'll see. It'll be party stuff next week because it's the Phoenix Waste Management, which I've been told and read that it's been doled down. Extra security, all sorts of measures, but we'll see how that goes.
I don't know too much about the measures they're taking, but I know last year people were literally falling out of the stands on 16, where there's 25,000 people on the hole.
Yeah. So very interested to see how that one goes. You mentioned Genesis. Now, they've been plastered everywhere as a sponsor in Tiger because of TGL. Let's get straight into it, because this, like, people, I think amateur golfers and people watch this probably like golf, but we've done quite a heavy professional dive there. But what everyone is talking about is TGL. We are 4 rounds into it now, I believe, weeks of it, and we've had our first epic, I'm going to say, yesterday. Let's go first. What do you make of it as a product overall? Is it going to stand? Is it a gimmick? What's your top line takeaway for the first month of TGL? Yeah,
look, I've only had the opportunity to watch bits and pieces of it. Each day that it's been on, I've been on daddy daycare. So
Tommy doesn't love TGL?
No. He's more blippy and wiggles around that time.
Okay, could stand for Tommy Golf Lover, couldn't it, TGL? But no,
exactly.
Okay, not yet. Okay.
Look, the bits that I have seen, it's all right. Yeah. It's fun. I can see how it's attracting a younger audience, and obviously indoor golf, simulator golf, the average participation age is under 30 versus standard golf is still somewhere around low to mid 50s. So I can see that side of it. The ratings have been pretty good on ESPN. It is prime time, but I think what I've found interesting about it is reading the reviews of people that are pitting that against what we're seeing with YouTube golf, what we're seeing with LIV Golf, standard PGA Tour. The reviews that I've read are that pre-packaged golf matches, like the match or the old Shell's World of Golf, if you pre-produce that, edited it, and put it in a 1 hour package or a 1.5 hour package and ran it at prime time, that would be more fun to watch than watching something live. Because at the end of the day, let's be honest, golfers are fairly boring. They're fairly dry. They're not funny. Someone like Phil, who is polarizing, is good to watch. He is box office to watch live because he's one of the few guys that can walk the walk and talk the talk as well.
Certainly does.
And, listening to Tiger's probably funny when the cameras are off, but when he's got to be a little bit more PG, it's just not funny.
Tampon Gate with Justin Thomas. Yeah.
But I mean, getting to the technology side of it, technology is not my forte, but Tiger has an affiliation with Full Swing, which is the launch monitor they use for all the data and everything there on TGL hitting into the big screen, and it's been quite a bit off.
That's been, a couple of times the mic's picked up and going, I don't need to aim that far right, and you can be like, stop talking about that, basically.
Well, I know Tiger hit a wedge 30 yards long or 35 yards long in one of his in his first match, and he wouldn't have done that since he was 10 years old. But look, I mean, there's been moments. Yesterday was obviously the closest match, the most entertaining match that we've had, and we had the top characters, Tiger and Rory.
Tom Kim.
Tom Kim was great. I mean, Tom Kim would have 20 majors if they were all match play.
Well, this was it, and I did love the tweet. Like, I don't know if it's too soon, but Tom Kim's a legend of TGL. But I mean, I almost feel like
yesterday could have been the benchmark for TGL. I'm not sure it can get any better than that. So let's see. You've got the top players, the closest match, the best entertainment. Will it get any better? I don't know. Let's see how the ratings go for it.
I'm interested because I'm flip-flopping between the two. Will it be a success? I think it might be just because of the money and people involved, that side of things, and the setup, and it's so cool. What I do love is the casual costumes. The shot clock is awesome. You go, it's action, and you see them relax with smack talk. Like Kevin Kisner's perfect for it. The sledging. He has one of the great quotes that always does the rounds, wasn't it? Where someone said he was they block out the country club. He's there on a charity day. You may have seen this. He's had 17 beers through the first 17 holes. And then on the 18th, his second shot from 250, he puts to 2 feet.
That's right.
And he says, "This ain't no hobby, boys," or whatever. Yeah,
that's right. And there was another one. I think he was doing a pre-tournament press conference somewhere, and he was in his prime at the time. And they said, your best finish here is 22nd. What do you make of the golf course? He said, not a big fan of it. Doesn't really suit my game. And they said, "Why are you here?" Because I like money. Yeah,
so good. So that side of it I love, and we do get to see sort of different sides of players, and the high fives and the hooping, hollering, is cool. As you say, it is at the end of the day sort of simulator golf, so it'll be interesting if it has a Big Bash takeoff, which is now in its 14th year.
Yeah, as you know, golf right now is because of LIV, they're trying to create the team element. Everything is very much teams focused at the moment, whereas I think in golf, Ryder Cup, President's Cup, even college golf, there's a long history there of teams golf. It's naturally ingrained into you. Either you support Europe, you support America, you support the rest of the world, you support your alma mater in college because you feel a sense of pride, patriotism, whatever it is. Everything at the moment seems to be a little bit manufactured. Are you a Cleeks fan? Are you a Ripper fan? I guess it's more natural to be a Ripper fan as an Aussie, but are you Majestics, Cleeks, Ironheads? You're not
going Grandpa. Who did you support?
Are you Jupiter Lynx? Are you a New York Golf Club boy? I feel like it's too manufactured. I don't know. I'm very open to the idea of trying something new, but I feel like at the moment everything's just a little bit forced.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I can see that. And sometimes this stuff, as I say, just takes time, right? I guess the Big Bash would have gone through this, as we say. Moyes is jumping in here after us, and he'll be talking about that epic final, I'm sure. But now they have their teams, and they've done so well with that, and how they've made it with power surges and light up stumps and everything. So it will be interesting to see how it goes. Do you know, can people just go and play it SoFi with the TGL? Is it going to be able to put that in stage?
I don't think so. Not at this point. I don't know about future plans.
Because it does look like a lot of fun. Like, you can imagine a Bucks Party stag do there. Like, good time. You talk about Top Golf. That would be one. You talk about the YouTube guide. That is the final area to talk about in the other news section of golf. Hasn't this just gone wild in the last few weeks? With the likes of Grant Horvat basically breaking the internet. He's had Tiger, he's had Rory. The good boys have sponsored 3-4 golfers. I know the young Clanton and Joel Damon. And Bryson coming out saying mega plans for California. He's not told us what they are, but he's saying he's still making a loss. He hires 10 full-time staff. He's putting over $1 million. His rebrand's been amazing. I'm really enjoying it, to be honest, what he's doing for the game. Did you ever... And then all of this influencer coming through with... And a big shout out to my old team, the viral video team with the influencer training video that went off. And if you haven't seen that, definitely check it out, where they basically get the guys Min Woo Lee with however many nicknames he's got, which are brilliant to teach him how to influence. How would you have gone if the golfing world was like this when you played? Because it is taking over. Yeah. Like, it is absolutely taking over as a we at chipping in at Fanatics Golf Club. Yeah.
I love it, and I absolutely would have delved right into it, because my opinion is, with golf, there's only 2 or 3 players that, as far as playing goes, really move the needle. I mean, obviously Tiger and Rory, Phil in his prime. I don't know who else actually moves the needle. If Scheffler and Xander Schauffele came and played in Australia, how many extra eyeballs do they? Yeah, a few. Yep. But I don't think it changes the game in any way. So outside of, let's say, a handful of players, male and female, Nelly and Lydia probably do it in the female game. Outside of that, I think more people are interested in watching the fun side of golf, and people who can still play. Now, probably miss Bryson there as well. Of course, Bryson moves the needle as well. But I think people are more interested in watching the fun side of golf versus the 12th ranked golfer or the 43rd ranked golfer being 1 or 2 under par. I mean, golf coverage, there's 5 hours of it every day, and I'm someone who commentates on it. I enjoy it, but it definitely can get monotonous. So I think showcasing this fun side of golf is terrific. I don't think it's a fad. I think it's here to stay.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, absolutely. I think those storylines that we don't hear about, that would be the fun stuff to learn. Joel Damon this week, he was in contention, playing well. Went in the off-season, trained with Navy SEALs. Yeah. I would have loved to watch a golfer who's not in cracking shape training with Navy SEALs. Did you ever do anything that was away from like the classic gym setup to make you tougher mentally, anything like that? And anything that we can do to I can be mentally tougher?
I know I used to, where I grew up in the Cronulla region in Sydney, they got the sandhills out there where a lot of the football teams train in the off-season. So I used to go and run those with a couple of friends who would come straight from a night out with a kebab in hand. That was interesting to watch. But nothing specifically for me. But I know with the Navy SEALs, Tiger obviously, for very different reasons. His dad, obviously a former Green Beret, he wanted to sort of emulate what his dad used to do, but also physically he was right into the fitness side of it. I think Joel Damon went and trained with them more mentally to become mentally tougher, and his caddy Gino went along with him as well, which is interesting, but it seems to be paying dividends right now.
Totally. After he basically said he struggled with the fame of full swing, didn't it change, which isn't that lovely? Just be a same like normal guy, lovely guy, and you get all this new adoration.
I found it fascinating. 18 months ago, I was commentating at the 3M Open in Minneapolis, and I was following Joel Damon's group around, and he had such a huge crowd following him, and it was the third round, and he was coming 20th or 30th, so he wasn't right up there, but he had a huge crowd following him. A lot of females, and I thought, they've got their eye on Joel Damon, who had just become a dad. No, they were after Gino, the caddy.
Great.
We love you, Gino. Gino had become a rock star.
Yeah, that is great. Maybe Netflix can follow this afterwards. That'd be nice. Perfect. And a part of that, we're talking about character. Justin Thomas coming out and saying, give some more. He's gone to his fellow pros. He's sort of seeing the LIV side of things and everything they're doing. And he's gone, give us more. And we've seen that with on-course interviews. Where do you stand with it? Because on the DP World Tour, it's apparently a curse and they bogey afterwards. So that was really... Now they're basically picking easy holes on the PGA Tour and they're getting birdies and calling it the good curse. What do you make of them? Because you've done some, you know them well. Do you love them? Do you hate them? Where do you sort of stand?
I've got a few thoughts on the whole thing. JT, good on him for owning up and saying, yes, I could have been a lot more open in the past as well. Otherwise, it was pot calling the kettle black.
Yes.
But then having freelanced all over the world, male and females, every other tour has been doing these things for years. And I personally have pitched to the PGA Tour 4, 5 or 6 years to do this type of thing. Right. I know we can't upset the apple cart. We don't want to interfere with the players. That's exactly what it's been. So good to see them finally doing something about it. But it's got to be authentic. If it's not authentic and the players don't buy into it, well, then it's just going to be same.
No, I want Johnson Wagner doing it, one of the great characters. Get some real stuff out of it. You're a pro commentator, done it for years. There's a character who's just lost LIV contract who's going to be commentating, Pat Perez. Do you know much about him? How's it going to go? Because he's polarizing. Let's put it that way. Google him, check him out if you don't know much about Pat Perez. Not Fat Perez, who's a golf influencer. Pat Perez. Could be some interesting stuff coming out, I reckon, of LIV.
The first thing I thought of was him following around Phil and interviewing Phil, because those two have a history. There's a lot of beef between those two.
Oh, okay.
And I don't know. Well, I do know a little bit about it, but let's just say it's very personal.
Yep.
So that would be very interesting. But as far as selecting Pat as a broadcaster, someone who's never done it, I'm interested to see how it all goes, but I'm also interested what are producers looking for now, because yes, he's a bit of a name, and yes, he's as we've mentioned a couple of times, polarizing. But there's a real fine art to broadcasting. There's a lot of intricate knowledge. There's a lot of research involved. Will someone like Pat Perez dig their head in all the stats and details and data and all of that stuff?
Seems unlikely. What I've read about.
Very unlikely. Is it someone just calling it as it is and calling the shot and throwing in a few cuss words here and there? I'm interested to see how it all goes. Yeah, I'm interested how LIV goes in general, because you thought it might fall away a bit with mergers going on, but they've also signed Rick Shields, with a man who was semi-vocal about not being in charge, but money talks, that he didn't love it early on. And
Yeah, interesting. I think he's moving maybe away from the playing and more doing that. I remember we did a 14 club challenge with him at Wentworth back in the day with Peter Finch. And there was an awkward moment where he basically, so you have 7 shots each. You go through the bag, you try hit the green, you get a point. He got none. Peter got 1. He hit 2 shanks. I've never seen balls right. And basically was like, oh, can we edit that out? Basically, and I was like, no, and someone was like, funny when you're not editing your own videos, and it just went down so badly that he's basically a 7 handicap doing that, and he's now with quite a interesting like release video of him and John Rahm announced can have the jacket and he puts the live. But interesting to see what he does. I am quite bought into the UK style as much as I don't know. I feel like the US are quite cool. Like Grant Horvat's quite a cool guy. They're cool guys. The UK is tougher to be cool, I think, and do that. So I'm interested to see what sort of content comes out of it from that side.
Supposedly playing matches against the LIV players, playing all the courses that they're playing on the LIV schedule. Obviously a huge following, close to 1 million followers. So eyeballs again.
Money talks.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it goes.
And speaking of money talks, have you ever done, and we'll finish on this, because before Christmas we were talking about great gifts, things we love and hate about the game. The PGA show was all over my Instagram in Florida. Have you ever been to done some of those? Yeah,
I have. I was living in Orlando 2013, and I went. It's very, very overwhelming, and that was 12 years ago. I imagine it's doubled in scale since. Look, it's great for networking. I know quite a few people that went over there, and basically you have meetings all day, every day for 5 or 6 days, and you burn the candle at both ends. There's parties and functions to attend every night. Combine that with jet lag, it's a big week if you're just going over for that week. But it can be extremely overwhelming. Right.
Were there any? I can imagine sort of the bits I love were the sort of gadget toys and that sort of thing, because there were some mad ones. Do you remember any stand out for you when you were there that you're like, this will never take off, or early on you're like, this is an amazing invention? Because I say this because, and we'll share it here, but like there's a new golf bag that's like $1,700. I don't know if you've seen it, and all the clubs are on the outside of it.
Yeah.
So you pull it and it sucks back in. Then the inside is like a gentleman's locker room of hats, toiletries, sun cream,
that's brilliant. Rory Sabatini used a bag in the last year or two with the clubs on the outside.
That's right.
You know, the Slovakian golfer.
Yeah, not South African. and everyone was like, well, this is just going to be copied on Temu for $100 in a few weeks. Do you remember ever seeing anything? Because this whole showroom looks like it's full of wonderful and weird ideas, basically. I didn't know if there was anything. It
wasn't 2013, but a few years ago there was some stuff coming out about the metaverse and AI.
Oh yeah,
which is still not my forte, but no. I do think that AI is going to take over it. When I say take over, I think it's going to be more firmly ingrained in the golf space in the next few months, probably, let alone years. And it's going to be utilized everything from booking tee times to having an on-course coach and caddy, and look, I think I looked at it a few years ago and thought, this is ridiculous. I'm so skeptical.
Yeah.
But I clicked on something on LinkedIn this morning, and AI was going to see if my resume was suitable to the job, even though I wasn't interested in it. So AI is everywhere.
There we go. I mean, I'm fascinated. Hopefully, it can like absolutely correct my swing or so. The fake remember Wii Golf when you do that and you do that sort of thing, just a clean strike every time, basically.
Yeah, no, I don't think anything will be able to correct that swing.
No, you're right. You are right. Those clubs, the outdoor bag was better. I very nearly bought. It was in my basket years ago. A travel golf clubs. And I don't know if you saw these, but they basically they fold into thirds and you screw them together and they just go in a backpack, and I don't think they took off, basically, but they are just a backpack, a normal size, and I was like, okay, this could be fun. You can travel around them. You don't need the annoyance of, because I'm walking around Artarmon right now with a golf and everyone thinking, what is this guy doing? Where is there a golf simulator? It's just for the set. And I looked at backpack, but that didn't quite take off, sadly. Whereas this outside of the thing, I don't mind it, not for $1,600 US, but if we find a cheaper version, I could be about it. Love it. Well, I think unless there's anything else that springs to mind that you want to talk about in the last few weeks, that's probably a wrap from us at Fanatics Golf Club.
Yeah, no, I think that's just about it. There was, I feel like the tip before in the wind, that was sprung upon me in the wind. So I think, like just from a general, one thing I've noticed playing a few rounds of golf in the last 5 or 6 weeks with a few club golfers.
Hitting them well?
Starting to hit them okay.
Nice.
3 under par on the weekend. So there's still remnants.
Sorry, starting to hit them okay. 3 under. I actually saw
soft bogey on the last.
I saw a shot, a very hard, the second hole at Mount Broughton. You nearly got a hole in one. I saw you the other day. Was it you were playing with someone and he basically called it? That's a bloody hard hole.
Yeah, that is from the back. It's intimidating. 220-something metres, plays 19 downhill, 5-iron to 5 or 6 feet. So there's still remnants of a golfer there, but the good thing about Instagram is only the good shots make it. So there's a lot of rubbish.
And no one zoomed in.
Out. No.
5 foot could be,
Exactly. It was 5. But one thing that, look, I'm guilty of, good players are guilty of, is mishits, and it all comes from being in between clubs or trying to hit it too hard. And when hitting an iron, this is a generic tip for everybody that I think everyone can learn from. When hitting an iron, we always hear how hit the ball first and take a divot. I see so many amateurs top the ball, scull the ball, don't take a blade of grass. Hit down on it. Try and take a divot, because by hitting down on the golf ball, you will hit the ball first and create the divot after the ball, which you see the good players do. But do it in your practice.
What about when Tiger said all his best shots he doesn't take a divot? Do you remember
Absolute rubbish. Have a look on YouTube. Tiger takes 3-foot-long fillets on just about everything.
That was funny on TGL. They're like, God, he's not taking a divot. He must be striping it tonight. You're like, yeah, that's fine. Perfect. So we've got all those tips. We've got those tips from Wind, striking, David Puig, and Sung Jae In this week. There you go. You're done. Thanks for checking in. We're back again next week. And then the one after, there might be a bit of, as we say, on-course stuff with Ewan and potentially a guest. We will see. But thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you soon. Enjoy the golf.
Thanks for watching Chipping In on Fanatics TV. Remember to like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.